Have you ever wondered if there was more to life? Well, it turns out there is, but you won't know that if you just jump into a business saying, hey, I know what I'm doing for my trade. Sometimes you're going to figure out that you don't know everything. There's things about running a business that they didn't teach you in med school. They didn't teach you in your trade, and you find that out the hard way. And then once you're running a business, sometimes you need a guide to help you see the path, to see things clearly. And our guest today has really helped people in the dentist profession be able to find out that there is more to life. She is the founder of More to Life and the author of Profit First for Dentists, and really a rock star professional when it comes to being successful and the expert of an industry. Welcome to Growth Amplifiers, Barb Stackhouse. Barb, thanks for being here today.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and it is my pleasure to be here. Looking forward to this.
This is really cool. So there's a lot of people that get into their profession for some reason. There's always a story behind it, a path that takes us to what we're doing, and then there's a reason why we continue to do it. What's your story? What's your background?
So I've been in dentistry for a long time. I am a dental hygienist and started practicing in 1988. A long time ago, and continued my education even after dental hygiene. So kept going to school in the evenings, and ended up getting 2 more degrees in education, a bachelor's in dental health education and a master's in educational leadership. And I thought my path would be to teach at the university, and maybe still do some hygiene, but found out quickly that I didn't really want to do full-time university work. And so I actually ended up meeting a dentist who had a business school for dentists, and his name was Dr. Mike Schuster. I'm very grateful for having the opportunity to work with him and to learn from him. So I like to give him some credit here. And I worked there for 12 years. We lived in Arizona at the time, and Dr. Schuster has since retired. But he and I still did dentistry together, and I also kind of learned the ropes, if you will, of the business side of dentistry. But my husband has also been an entrepreneur. He is a contractor, and I always did his books. So I had this financial side, and then I had the dental side, and then I started learning the business of dentistry, and I kind of merged all of that together. And then I actually had a dentist who said, you got to read this book by Mike Michalowicz called Profit First. And I thought, okay. So I read that book and I said, there's something here, and I think I can make this work for dentists. Mike doesn't know dentistry. I do. And so all of those things together, I guess, got me to the point where I am right now, where I've been a Profit First professional. I'm in we used to call it mastery. They call it designer level now, but the higher level in Profit First professionals, and the author of the book, Profit First for Dentists. So my specialty literally is the profession I've been in like my whole professional career. So it's kind of cool. I know the clinical side, and now I know the business side too.
So I'm really a big fan of the niching. Being in marketing and having that background, I knew it for a lot longer than I took the steps to niche. But I really think there's a lot of value, because there are a lot of people that are generalists, and it's counterintuitive. We think, well, if I can help everyone, if I select a niche, then I'm going to be limiting my options. How has it worked for you? What are some of the things that you found beneficial in niching?
I didn't know any different. So I didn't have to niche, because I already had it when I started. So when I signed up for being a Profit First professional and started going through, I said, I already know who I'm going to work with. This is my path. This is what I know. I didn't know the model for any other business, percentage wise, and what their overhead would be and all those things. I mean, I was confident. I was very confident in dentistry because that's what I'd been doing. So for me, there was never a question as to my niche, because I walked in with that. And it was my intention from day one that I would help dentists, and I could see that they needed help. Mm-hmm. Really what I saw was dentists they're so smart and they just don't have the time to work on the business side because they're always working in the practice. They're always seeing patients. And I saw them, leaving decisions, financial decisions up to other people who they might trust, but weren't really the best decisions for them. And they didn't really know what was going on in their practice on the financial side. So I knew if I could give them a simple system that didn't require a lot of time to do, then they could do it and they could know their numbers and they could make their decisions because they would know. They would have the information. So really that was my goal from day one, was to have a simple system where I could teach them. It would take some time to teach them, but once they learned it, as with anything, right, we have to put the time in to learn it. But I knew that once they learned it, and if they followed it, they followed the structure, the system, it would work. So I just knew I could help dentists from what I was seeing.
So I think it's kind of like baked in that answer with, because you had that intimate knowledge, you knew deeper levels. You really knew how to help that industry and the owners of that industry. You kind of already had that relationship with those people, and so you're able to get much deeper than if you say, yeah, I kind of know a little bit about this, I might be able to help you out with this framework. Sure, there's value to the framework, but being able to know that mind, that industry, that business, its challenges, the things that work, the things that typically don't, you're
Right.
now able to be the expert guide for that industry.
Yeah. Well, having worked clinical, and
Mhm.
because I am a dental hygienist, hygienists are producers in dental practices,
Mm.
much like an associate doctor. They're different because they have a different department. They're doing dental hygiene. They're not doing dentistry, but they are producers. And so I have that experience being a hygienist myself and understanding the responsibility that comes with that, both to the patient, but also to the practice in helping with profitability. So I feel like that has given me also an insider view as to what are the things that we can do clinically that are going to help on the financial side as well.
Even deeper knowledge. So when we meet,
Yes.
we can really dig in deep and get, when it's they say small hinges swing big doors. So it's those little
Yeah.
changes that someone else may not know are there. Without that experience, you could have someone who also has the material, the framework, but without that extra additional knowledge and deep insights, they wouldn't get the same result. So
Right.
you've authored this book,
Yeah.
Profit First for Dentists. You've had some great accomplishments. What are some things that, if you could toot your own horn and say, man, this is some cool things that I've accomplished in my career?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, writing a book was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
My first book I've authored, and I wrote that book during COVID. So when everything shut down, I said, I'm doing it. And kind of a cool story how I was actually invited to write that book. There is a co-author, and I will mention his name because Drew has just been amazing, Drew Henricks. And Drew is a CPA for dentists. He is also a Profit First professional, and he invited me to write that book. He had paid for the rights for the book, but just kind of figured out he really didn't have the time and wasn't going to be the author. And so I largely wrote the book, of course, with his input, and we had a lot of discussions, but I'm forever grateful for being able to do that. So that's been cool. And then I created a program of learning, really a school, for dentists to learn the system that I teach in the book, but also to learn those things on the clinical side and from my experience that kind of dive deeper than the book itself. And so that is really what I do. I teach and coach dentists to follow the system and give them all the little insider tips and work with them until I'm confident and they're confident that I can let go of their hand and they can continue this system for years to come, for the changes in their practice, which is, it's amazing when you see the difference from start to finish, and then know that, hey, you just keep following this little step by step and you're going to get there, and this is going to impact them for the rest of their career. So,
You mentioned that you have this course. And I know a lot of times people who have expert knowledge like yourself, they get caught up with, I only have so much time and
Yeah.
I can only take on so much clients. And then I try to hire people to help me, but they don't have that knowledge and expertise. So then I can't take on more clients and I get boxed in. But you're really working smart by kind of like taking that knowledge and turning it into a course. And that way you're able to create it once and sell it
Hmm.
many times. Tell us
Yeah.
more about that course and how
Yeah.
you went from ideation, like that's nice to do, to I've turned it into
Yeah.
something and I'm utilizing it.
And I think, part of that was just because I am an educator.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bachelor's and a master's in education, and I had to learn how to write curriculum
Mm-hmm.
as part of my training in college. And so for me, it was just second nature to think through, okay, what would it take if I were to work with a dentist and follow, what I teach in my book, but also all the other little things that could make a difference. And so I just made an outline of what that course would look like. And I came up with 8 modules. Some have more videos than others, but I really just started with that. And when I initially began, I knew, from the outline, I broke it down into each of the courses, what was going to be included. I enrolled some clients. I enrolled some dentists. I did not have a program yet. And I taught it live. So I was 1 week ahead of them. And I taught it live and I recorded it all. And that became my curriculum. And of course, I've updated things and changed some things since then. But the cool thing is, all that bonus material, whenever I update, any client, any dentist who's been a client of mine, they still get access to it. I don't take that away. I figure if they want to go back and review something, I give them that. So the truth is, any dentist could read my book and follow the instructions and implement Profit First in their practice. That I wrote it to be that way. So I want more dentists to use it. I'm currently writing a companion workbook. It will be launching November 1 that has even more in depth and all the things that if you want to, if you're a do-it-yourselfer dentist, then this workbook. Still, I will say my program, which is online, once you become, a client or a student, then you get access to that. Obviously, that has a lot more and a lot more of hand-holding from me because the coaching goes along with it. And what I have found is that if you're going to make a commitment to do the training, the online training, then you need to make a commitment to the coach as well. Because, even I have a coach. We all need someone who is holding us accountable and holding our hand and answering the questions, when we're stumbling. So that's how I do it. I have the book. I'm going to have the workbook soon, and I have this online program with coaching, and those are the options, really. But I created it so that it was a way for dentists to do this. I really want to see more dentists being more successful.
So what I love about what you shared, we must have been on the same frequency during the pandemic because we did something very similar where I was telling you before we got started, we had been niching with the health and wellness profession and they were having challenges. So during the pandemic, we started focusing more in the accounting space, but we took some of our best material and we said, what if we could try to help as many people as we can who are going through this pandemic? What would we want to tell them? We just put it in a list, and then it's like, all right, we're going to do a 6-week course,
Yep.
and we don't need to get the whole thing produced. We're just going to be 1 week ahead of schedule, right? And
Yeah.
just got it done. Was it perfect? No. Was it valuable? Yes. Did people find benefit? Yes. Did we end up refreshing some of it? Yes. But I'm sharing that because I appreciate that you took that approach, because a lot of times people who are listening in would benefit from creating their own course and creating it once and
Mm-hmm.
getting it done, but they get caught up with overthinking it and trying to super produce it and taking something that you could just start doing
Yeah.
because you know what you know, and then they'll maybe it'll go over years. They'll be talking about it for years and they're not making progress and they're not running for Congress. So I don't know what their excuse is.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I think that any profession can do this because, I teach dentists, I coach dentists. They're working in a location where patients come to them. That is very different than my business, which is pretty much online. But dentists are teaching patients all day long about things. And could we create things ourselves? We're notorious for buying videos that other people might create to teach our patients something about dentistry. Well, why don't we do that? So I often think that if we created our own, and speaking to dentists, and your patient already knows you, they already trust you, they're going to listen, and give them access to all those things, teach. It's my philosophy is I'll share whatever I have with you. I mean, I talk to dentists all the time. They call me and sometimes they just need a question answered because they're trying to do profit first. Great. I'll answer your question. If that's all you need from me, that's great. Happy to help.
So I looked real quick to my side over here. I was looking for a book, but I'm not going to get distracted trying to find it because it'll
That's
take
all
me
right.
too long.
It's okay.
But because you reminded me of it was prior to making that switch. I had a dentist who was actually in Beverly Hills, and she had a book. She wrote a book, and she was talking about the connection between like your oral hygiene and your health.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, including myself, didn't realize how connected it was.
Yep.
But she was able to create something once, sell it many times, elevates her authority, elevates her visibility, differentiates her in her market. So I like what you're saying. And definitely you could turn that book into a course. It's like you've done this before, Barb.
Yes. I have been in dentistry, like I said, since 1988. I've been coaching dentists for, if it's 20 years this year, 2024. So a long time in the space and still enjoy it, still love what I do, still have a passion for helping others.
I'm going to flip the script on you because we've been
It's okay. Go for it.
Now, along your journey, you're bound to have run into some challenges with this model or this business or whatever. What's a challenge that you ran into that you faced on your journey? Maybe you've overcome it. Maybe you could kind of share a little bit about something.
I mean, when I first started out, I didn't have the Profit First book yet. I was still, we had moved to Tennessee. I started my own company. I was still, coaching some clients, but I knew very quickly that I had to have something that would be unique, would be something beneficial for a dentist. And so when this dentist recommended the book, I grabbed onto it right away and started in. But there was a period in there I was kind of floundering. I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing because it took me a minute, to get through all of that Profit First training and get my certification. And, I couldn't really, I had some beta clients. So I asked the clients that I had, I said, hey, will you be my, I really didn't ask him. I just told him they had to do it. I said, look, I'm taking this training and you're going to get it all for free. I'm not going to charge you any extra. Just do this. And they did it. They honored me and they did it and they all started getting results. And I was like, once I had that, I knew I had something. But I'll tell you, the first 2 years, the first year was really a struggle. The second year, I was building the program. So I still didn't have a ton of cash flow. By year 3, I finally got there. So I would say the startup, it's not easy. And I understand too, when dentists do a startup, you're starting from scratch. So you have to have, for me, I had a spouse who could support me while I was doing this and believed in me and, helped me along the way. Otherwise, I would have had to borrow some money to live on. I didn't have to do that. So I would say that was hard. And then I had an incident this year, actually, that really changed a lot for me. And I actually write the foreword of my workbook is my story. So I'll try to make it really short for you because I know we have a time limit here. But I was on vacation in February this year in Florida, Pensacola area, and with our best friends, my husband and I. Prior to leaving on vacation, I had started a new medication for what my doctor thought was an autoimmune issue post-COVID. And I had a cough I couldn't get rid of. So I was 5 days into this medication and I was starting to have an allergic reaction. I had developed a rash on my hands. So fast forward now, first day of vacation, we're we decided to go out on the beach. We were hiking. We came back into town. Anyway, I passed out. I ended up falling face first onto concrete and damaged my teeth pretty bad. So I actually had some come out completely, lots of fractures, fractured my palate, fractured my chin, pretty much a mess, hot mess.
Sorry to hear that.
And yeah, it was not fun. So being a dental hygienist, I say it was the hygienist's worst nightmare to have happen. So when I came to, I was like, what happened? They told me, we now know it was just a severe allergic reaction to that medication, which we figured out, and I stopped it right away. But anyway, I saw a dentist down there who actually was a client of mine. And he also is related to my daughter-in-law. He's the uncle of my daughter-in-law. And he and his oral surgeon were able to see me right away and put me back together. So I'm, again, just super grateful. I feel like, I believe in God. I come from a Christian background. And so I really feel like the steps and things that happened were truly a miracle. And we were able to save my teeth, and I'm okay now. I am healed up. But from that experience, I came home and had to take some time off. I just needed to heal. But also from that experience, it made me understand what a dental patient goes through, because I never knew that before. So I had to see an endodontist for root canals. And the first endodontist I saw was not a good experience. And seeing too many patients, too busy. I sat and waited over an hour, only spent 10 minutes with him, and was told, go to the front, schedule for 4 root canals. And I just knew this was not the place for me. So I tell this story because I went to a different endodontist. I asked my dentist, hey, would you send me to a new endodontist? That didn't go well. And honestly, I'd really like to go to a biologic endodontist. And so I flew across the country to see an endodontist in Texas. They were waiting for me when I got there. I was the only patient in the office for the entire morning. Turns out I needed 7 root canals, not 4. Turns out I had other fractures that I didn't know about before. So again, I tell that story because I say to dentists, like, do you want to be dentist number 1 that is rushing around, having to see so many patients, whether it's finances or whatever it is that's driving you? Do you want to be that one? Or do you want to be the type of dentist that can see a patient that flies across the country and is your only patient for the morning? Because by doing profit first, you can have the financial freedom to make that choice. What kind of dentist do you want to be?
I think that's powerful. One of the things I'm a big fan of is thinking about what is the experience that you're creating. It's about relationships. Business is about relationships.
Absolutely.
And if we can talk about profit, and we do need to think about it. Profit gives us the ability to make an impact, to be able to invest in others and contribute to a bigger why. Yeah. So profit is important, but the bigger thing behind that is your bigger why, right? We make profit not because we're just money focused. Like, money isn't my driver. It's to make a bigger impact. But we need to focus on profit first, because if we don't have profit, we run out of business, then we can't help it.
Exactly.
So I think that's really powerful, and I think some people need to be reminded of that. We can get focused on the wrong things, like people who are trying to. They're cutting down different things to be more profitable, but they cut so much. There's a plane company that's been doing that recently. They've been cutting.
Yes.
They're in the news. I'm not going to put it in my podcast, but you cut down expenses for security or safety or quality. It has a cost, but you can engineer things differently and still be profitable. Yeah, more profitable.
Exactly. And I think if, with dentistry, it's kind of been a taboo subject, for years, because, and I'm sure it is with healthcare too, with the medical profession. We're here to help people. We're here to help them heal. We're in the medical profession. We're in the dental profession. We're not supposed to be, worried about the money. The money will come. But if you don't worry about the money, then you're always chasing it, and then you're stressed out. And I see this. I see it with dentists all the time. And I think if you can learn to really figure out what kind of practice fits you personally the best. And I'm speaking to dentists here.
Mm-hmm.
If they can, not all dentists are created equal. Not all dental practices are the same. Some like to own the big practice with, lots of employees and associates or maybe multiple locations. Great. But there's a way to do that you can watch your numbers and you can be profitable. Some dentists would say, I just want to be a solo practitioner. I want to have a small practice. This is what I want to do. Great. You can be profitable in that type of practice too. You just need to know how to set it up, and you need to know how to set your money systems up to make sure you are profitable. And when you are profitable, you can serve more. Exactly what you said.
So for those who may be tuned in and say, you just struck a chord, I might need to rethink some things. Maybe I need a little bit of guidance in this area. Where should they go and what can they do?
I would say go to my website. It is www.profitfirstdentist.com. And on that website, there is a little button that says, Let's Talk. And all you have to do is click on that. That'll take you right to my schedule. And you can choose a time that works for you. We'll get on the phone. We'll chat about what's going on. And that's, again, www.profitfirstdentist.com.
Now, and if you didn't catch it, the book Profit First for Dentists is a great book recommendation, because I always ask guests, and that was given to you. Is there another book that you've read that you thought is it also a nice, cool thing to share that might be helpful for other people in business who are looking to improve, something that's been impactful for you?
I love books. Amber Vilhauer has a new book out. Why can't I think of the name of it right now? Hang on. I don't have it here beside me. If you just look up Amber Vilhauer, she has an infinite impact. See, I knew it would come to me. She has a book out called Infinite Impact.
We'll edit that part out.
Yeah, thank you. So Amber Vilhauer's book, Infinite Impact, is for entrepreneurs who want to be in alignment with what they are doing. It doesn't matter what kind of entrepreneur you are. Who you serve doesn't matter, but are you in alignment with your core purpose and why you were put here to do this? Are you in alignment? So she takes you through exercises in this book to discover that. And I think for me and everything that happened to me this year, going back to February when I had the fall, it really made me just step back and appreciate my husband, appreciate my family, appreciate the fact that I get to do what I do. I am privileged to be able to work from home and do what I do. And using Amber's process in her book also reinforced all of those things that I was feeling, and just putting me into a space where I said, you know what, I am in alignment here, and here's what I'm going to say no to, and here's what I'm going to say yes to. So it helped me as a business owner really hone in on where I could be of the most benefit, and in return, how it would benefit me. You have to have both. You can't always be giving without receiving. I learned to receive.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And we are going to wrap. Or actually, if there's a closing message, if you have a closing message that you'd like to share for others on their journey, any final thought you'd care to share?
Oh gosh,
it could be related to your industry. It could be related to anything you've learned on your life lesson. Anything you'd care to share, something that just comes to mind.
Yeah, I think believe in yourself. You were put here on earth for a reason, and go after that. Connect to that higher power. Like I said earlier, my power is from God. I come from a Christian background. So connect with that, believe in yourself, and serve others. I think you're always going to find a reward there.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Amplifiers, for tuning in. Barb, you're an amplifier in this world, and I appreciate the actions that you're taking to make a difference, because you're not only helping the dentists and their teammates and their families, it's the community, it's the greater good of all. So thank you so much for doing what you do. And if you're tuning in, definitely, if you haven't subscribed, do that. Subscribe. And if you have questions or thoughts or feedback, we're always looking for different topics that you'd like to hear, things of that nature. Barb, thanks again for your time. Appreciate having you on.
Thank you.
To show your support, take a moment to amplify this message by sharing it online. To connect with me or gain more business growth insights, visit www.growthamplifiers.com. Thank you for your support.